Welcome back to Victoria's Educational Services, where I break down difficult concepts into easy steps. Our objective for today is to decompose non-unit fractions and represent them as a whole number times a unit fraction using tape diagrams. This lesson covers standards 4.nf.3.b and standard 4.nf.4.a. This is based on Eureka Math Module 5, Lesson 3. By the end of this video, you'll be able to represent non-unit fractions as whole numbers times a unit fraction. Okay, let's get started. The directions for our first problem state to decompose each fraction modeled by a tape diagram as a sum of unit fractions. Then write the equivalent multiplication sentence. Okay, so take a look at our tape diagram. You can see the number 1 on top with the line showing that this entire tape diagram represents one whole. Okay, so in this problem, we are not dealing with improper fractions. This one is under one whole. So our first step is to think about how many pieces this is divided into. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces, and that's my denominator, right? My numerator is going to be how many of those pieces are shaded in. I could see that there are 5 pieces shaded in. So step 1 is done. Just write your fraction. Your next step is to break this apart into unit fractions that add up to the fraction we're working with, which is 5/6. To find the unit fraction, take a look at your tape diagram, and you can label each piece. So I know each one of these pieces, because it's divided into 6 equal pieces, each part represents 1/6. So when I write my sum of unit fractions, I would write 5/6 equals, and I'm adding 1/6 up until I get to 5/6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so I have my 5 unit fractions that add back up to 5/6. So that is the first part, which was to write this as a sum of unit fractions. The next step is to write the equivalent multiplication sentence. So for that, I'm going to write this one on the bottom. I'll change color so you can see it. We're starting with our fraction, which we said was 5/6, equals, now we have to write a whole number and multiply it by our unit fraction. So first, the easiest part is to just write your unit fraction. We said each piece represented 1/6. So we have our unit fraction right there. We're just missing one number. So we have to think, well, how many times do I need to add 1/6 to get to 5/6? Okay, that's one way to think about it, is to use your sum of unit fractions to help you write your multiplication sentence. So if you do it that way, we know we had to add 1/6 5 times. And we should know by now that multiplication is just repeated addition, and that's why these two concepts go so well together. If you know one, it can help you with the other one. Okay, so our answer would be 5/6 equals 5 times 1/6. And that's it. So you wrote the sum of unit fractions, right, up top, and you wrote the equivalent multiplication sentence on the bottom. Our next problem says, write the following fractions greater than 1 as the sum of 2 products. So if you look at this tape diagram, you look at the lines and the number 1, you can see that this fraction continues after the number 1. That means we're working with an improper fraction. That's a fraction where the numerator is going to be larger than the denominator. So our first step is to count how many pieces are shaded in. So let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces that are shaded in out of, and then we have to count, and this is very important, how many pieces are in the one whole. So just focus on that one whole when you write the denominator. So I see we have 1, 2, 3 pieces. So the fraction we're working with is 5/3. Now we have to break this fraction into the sum of 2 products. So in that last video, we learned how to write a multiplication sentence to represent a fraction. So we're using that knowledge in this one as well. Now we know when we write our multiplication sentence, I'm going to leave a blank here, times, and then it's going to be a fraction. Because we're writing this as a sum of 2 products, make sure you have your parentheses. Then there'll be a plus sign in the middle, and we'll have parentheses again. Okay, so now we just fill in the numbers. So our first part would be to find a multiplication sentence that will demonstrate the one whole. So we're going to focus on just this one whole first. Okay, so I know that the unit fractions we're working with are 1/3, right? This piece is 1/3, this piece is 1/3, and it continues like that. So I know our unit fraction is 1/3, and I can fill that in for both parts. My next part is knowing what number am I multiplying by. So if you look at how many parts are in the one whole, we have 1, 2, 3 parts in the one whole. So I need to multiply this by 3 to get that first chunk, which is that one whole. My next step would be to do the same thing, but for the remaining 2 pieces right here. So I see I have, like I said, 1 piece, 2 pieces, right? So that means I have to multiply by 2 to get that second piece. Now, if you want, you can check your answer and you can do 3 times 1 equals, I'll write it up here, 3/3 plus, then we have 2 times 1 is 2/3, and we know that that equals 3 plus 2 is 5. Denominator stays the same. So you can always do a little check if you want to check your answer. But that's it. You're just breaking it into one whole. You're handling that, and then you're moving on to the second part, which is how much is remaining, and you're breaking that apart in the same way that we did in question number 1. Okay, so I really hope this video helped you. If you have any questions about this topic, I know it can be a little confusing at first. Feel free to leave a comment. Let me know what you need help with. I'll do my best to help you. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe so I can continue to provide free educational videos. All right, thank you. Bye.